Prayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Utama Shtiki Tadano Bhava Amaloba Dayashchaye Chaitaiterana Vidham Stitam Sattve Prasiddhati Evam Prasanna Manaso Bhagavad Bhakti Yogataha Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam Mukta Sangasya Jayate Vidyate Hridaye Kante Samshayaha Shyante Chasya Karmani Drishta Eva Manishvare Evam Prasanna Manaso Bhagavad Bhakti Yogataha Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam Mukta Sangasya Jayate Vidyate Hridaye Grantish Chitante Sarva Samshaya Shyante Chasya Karmani Manishvare. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We're continuing with our reading of the Srimad Bhagavatam. We're now on Canto 6. We're up to Chapter 2, which is entitled Ajamil Delivered by the Vishnu Dutas. We're taking up where we left off after the cow break at text number 21. My dear Maharaj Parikshit, O subduer of all enemies, after the servants of Yamaraj had been everything that had happened. Purport: in this verse, the word pratyudita is very significant. The servants of Yamaraj are so powerful that they can be hindered anywhere, but this time they were baffled and disappointed in their attempt to take away a man they considered sinful. Therefore they immediately returned to Yamaraj and described to him everything that had happened. From the nooses of Yamaraj's servants, this Brahmana Ajamil, now free from fear, came to his senses and immediately offered obeisances to the Vishnu Dutas. Having been released from the nooses of Yamaraj's servants, free from fear, immediately offered obeisances to the Vishnu Dutas by bowing his head at their lotus feet. He was extremely pleased by their presence, for he had seen them save his life from the hands of the servants of Yamaraj. Purport: Vaishnavas are also Vishnu Dutas, because they carry out the orders of Krishna. Lord Krishna is very eager for all the conditioned souls rotting in this material world to surrender to him and be saved from material pangs in this life and punishment in hellish conditions after death. A Vaishnava therefore tries to bring conditioned souls to their senses. Those who are fortunate like Ajamil are saved by the Vishnu Dutas or Vaishnavas, and thus they return back home, back to Godhead. 23. O sinless Maharaj Parikshit, the order carriers of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Vishnu Dutas, saw that Ajamil was attempting to say something, and thus they suddenly disappeared from his presence. Purport: the Shastras say, Papishta ye durachara deva brahmana nindakaha apatya bhojanastesham akale maranam dhruvam. For persons who are papishta, very sinful, and durachara, misbehaved or very unclean in their habits, who are against the existence of God, who disrespect Vaishnavas and Brahmanas, and who eat anything and everything, untimely death is sure. It is said that in Kali Yuga one has a maximum lifetime of 100 years. But as people become degraded, the duration of their lives decreases. Prayanal Payushashabhya. Because Ajamil was now free from all sinful reactions, his lifetime was extended, even though he was to have died immediately. When the Vishnu Dutas saw Ajamil trying to say something to them, they disappeared to give him a chance to glorify the Supreme Lord. Since all his sinful reactions had been vanquished, he was now prepared to glorify the Lord. Indeed, one cannot glorify the Lord unless one is completely free from all sinful activities. This is confirmed by Krishna himself in Bhagavad Gita 7:28. Yesham tuntakatam papam jananam punyakarmanam te dvandva muhinir mukta bhajante mam dradavrata. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, and who are freed from the duality of delusion, engage themselves in my service with determination. The Vishnudutas made Ajamil aware of devotional service so that he might immediately become fit to return home back to Godhead. To increase his eagerness to glorify the Lord, they disappeared so that he would feel separation in their absence. In the mode of separation, glorification of the Lord is very intense. To increase his eagerness to glorify the Lord, they disappeared so that he would feel separation in their absence. In the mode of separation, glorification of the Lord is very intense. 24 and 25. After hearing the discourses between the Yamadutas and the Vishnudutas, Ajamil could understand the religious principles that act under the three modes of material nature. These principles are mentioned in the three Vedas. He could also understand the transcendental religious principles which are above the modes of material nature and which concern the relationship between the living being and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Furthermore, Ajamil heard glorification of the name, fame, qualities, and pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He thus became a perfectly pure devotee. He could then remember his past sinful activities, which he greatly regretted having performed. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna told Arjuna, Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna Nirdvanvo Nitya Sattvasto Niryoga Shema Atmavan. The Vedas mainly deal with the subject of the three modes of material nature. Rise above these modes, O Arjuna. Be transcendental to all of them. Be freed from all dualities and from all anxieties for gain and safety, and be established in the self. The Vedic principles certainly prescribe a gradual process for rising to the spiritual platform, but if one remains attached to the Vedic principles, there is no chance of his being elevated to spiritual life. Krishna therefore advised Arjuna to perform devotional service, which is the process of transcendental religion. What is the process of transcendental religion? Would you say it was devotional service? Okay. The transcendental position of devotional service is also confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.6. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktir adhoksaje. The devotional service is paro dharma, transcendental dharma. It is not material dharma. True or false? Bhakti devotional service is material dharma. False. That's incorrect. You're correct. That is incorrect. People generally think that religion should be pursued for material profit. This may be suitable for persons interested in material life, but one who is interested in spiritual life should be attached to parodharma, the religious principle by which one becomes a devotee of the Supreme Lord. Yato bhakti hoksajay. Religion teaches the Lord and the living entity are eternally related, and that the duty of the living entity is to surrender to the Lord. When one is situated on the platform of devotional service, one is freed from impediments and completely satisfied. Ahaitukiya pratiyata yayama suprasidati. Having been elevated to that platform, Ajamil began to lament for his past materialistic activities and glorify the name, fame, form, and pastimes of the Supreme Personality of God.
Text 26. Ajamil said, Alas, alas, being a servant of my senses, how degraded I became. I fell down from my position as a duly qualified Brahmana and begot children in the womb of a prostitute. Purport. Men of the higher classes, the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas, do not beget children in the wombs of lower-class women. Therefore, the custom in Vedic society is to examine the horoscopes of a girl and boy being considered for marriage to see whether their combination is suitable. Vedic astrology reveals whether one has been born in the Vipra Varna, Kshatriya Varna, Vaishya Varna, or Shudra Varna, according to the three qualities of material nature. This must be examined because a marriage between a boy of the Vipra Varna and a girl of the Shudra Varna is incompatible. Married life would be miserable for both husband and wife. Consequently, a boy should marry a girl of the same category. Of course, this is trigunya, a material calculation according to the Vedas. But if the boy and girl are devotees, there need be no such considerations. A devotee is transcendental, and therefore in a marriage between devotees, the boy and girl form a very happy combination. Text 27. Alas, all condemnation upon family tradition. Indeed, I gave up my chaste and beautiful young wife to have sexual intercourse with a fallen prostitute, accustomed to drinking wine. All condemnation upon me. Purport. This is the mentality of one who is becoming a pure devotee. When one is elevated to the platform of devotional service by the grace of the Lord and the spiritual master, one first regrets his past sinful activities. This helps one advance in spiritual life. The Vishnudutas had given Ajamil the chance to become a pure devotee, and the duty of a pure devotee is to regret his past sinful activities in illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating, and gambling. Not only should one give up his past bad habits, but he must also always regret his past sinful acts. This is the standard of pure devotion. Text 28. My father and mother were old and had no other son or friend to look after them. Because I did not take care of them, they lived with great difficulty. Alas, like an abominable lower-class man, I ungratefully left them in that condition. Purport. According to Vedic civilization, everyone has the responsibility. Women, children, and cows. This is the duty of everyone, especially an upper-class person. Because of his association with a prostitute, Ajamil abandoned all his duties. Regretting this, Ajamil now considered himself quite fallen. Text 29. It is now clear that as a consequence of such activities, a sinful person like me must be thrown into hellish conditions meant for those who have broken religious principles and must there suffer extreme miseries. Text 30. Was this a dream I saw, or was it reality? I saw fearsome men with ropes in their hands coming to arrest me and drag me away. Where have they gone?
"31. And where have those 4 liberated and very beautiful persons gone who released me from arrest and saved me from being dragged down to the hellish regions?" Purport. As we have learned from the descriptions in the 5th canto, the hellish planets are situated in the lower portions of this universe. Therefore, they are called Adho Bhuva. Ajamil could understand that the Yamadutas had come from that region. 32. I am certainly most abominable and unfortunate to have merged in an ocean of sinful activities, but nevertheless, because of my previous spiritual activities, I could see those 4 exalted personalities who came to rescue me. Now I feel exceedingly happy because of their visit. Purport. As stated in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 22:54, Sadhu Sangha Sarva Shastre Koi, Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha Sarva Siddhi Hai. Association with devotees is recommended by all the Shastras because by even a moment of such association, one can receive the seed for all perfection. In the beginning of his life, Ajamil was certainly very pure, and he associated with devotees and brahmanas. Because of that pious activity, even though he was fallen, he was inspired to name his son Narayana. Certainly, this was due to good counsel given from within by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto matak smritir jnana mapohanam cha. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. The Lord who is situated in everyone's heart is so kind that if one has ever rendered service to him, the Lord never forgets him. Thus the Lord from within gave Ajamil the opportunity to name his youngest son Narayana, so that in affection he would constantly call Narayana, Narayana, and thus be saved from the most fearful and dangerous condition at the time of his death. Such is the mercy of Krishna. Guru Krishna Prasadi Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. By the mercy of the Guru and Krishna, one receives the seed of bhakti. This association saves the devotee from the greatest fear. In our Krishna consciousness movement, we therefore change a devotee's name to a form that reminds him of Vishnu. If at the time of death the devotee can remember his own name, such as Krishnadas or Govindadas, he can be saved from the greatest danger. Therefore, the change of names at the time of initiation is essential. The Krishna consciousness movement is so meticulous that it gives one a good opportunity to remember Krishna somehow or other. 33. Were it not for my past devotional service, how could I, a most unclean keeper of a prostitute, have gotten an opportunity to chant the holy name of Vaikuntapati when I was just ready to die? Certainly it could not have been possible. Purport: the name Vaikuntapati, which means the master of the spiritual world, is not different from the name Vaikuntha. Ajamil, who is now a realized soul, could understand that because of his past spiritual activities in devotional service, he had gotten this opportunity to chant the holy name of Vaikuntapati in his horrible condition at the time of death. 34. Ajamil continued, I am a shameless cheater who has killed his Brahminical culture. Indeed, I am sin personified. Where am I in comparison to the all-auspicious chanting of the holy name of Lord Narayana? Purport: those engaged in broadcasting the holy name of Narayana, Krishna, through the Krishna consciousness movement should always consider what our position was before we came and what it is now. We had fallen into abominable lives as meat-eaters, drunkards, and women hunters who performed all kinds of sinful activities, but now we have been given the opportunity to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. Therefore, we should always appreciate the opportunity, this opportunity. By the grace of the Lord, we are opening many branches, and we should use this good fortune to chant the holy name of the Lord and serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly. We must be conscious of the difference between our present and past conditions, and should always be very careful not to fall from the most exalted life. 35. I am such a sinful person, but since I have now gotten this opportunity, I must completely control my mind, life, and senses, and always engage in devotional service, so that I may not fall again into the deep darkness and ignorance of material life. Purport: every one of us should have this determination. We have been elevated to an exalted position by the mercy of Krishna and the spiritual master, and if we remember that this is a great opportunity and pray to Krishna that we will not fall again, our lives will be successful.
Text 36 and 37. Oneself with body, one is subjected to desires for sense gratification, and thus one engages in many different types of pious and impious action. This is what constitutes material bondage. Now I shall disentangle myself from my material bondage, which has now been caused by the Supreme Personality of Godhead's illusory energy in the form of a woman. Being a most fallen soul, I was victimized by the illusory energy and have become like a dancing dog led around by a woman's hand. Now I shall give up all lusty desires and free myself from this illusion. I shall become a merciful, well-wishing friend to all living entities and always absorb myself in Krishna consciousness. Purport: this should be the standard of determination for all Krishna conscious persons. A Krishna conscious person should free himself from the clutches of Maya, and he should also be compassionate to all others suffering in those clutches. The activities of the Krishna consciousness movement meant not only one for oneself, but for others also. This is the perfection of Krishna consciousness. One who is interested in his own salvation is not as advanced in Krishna consciousness as one who feels compassion for others and who therefore propagates the Krishna consciousness movement. Such an advanced devotee will never fall down, for Krishna will